Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Career Coaching with Jess Ness. I'm your host, Jess Ness, career consultant and wellness coach for 20-somethings. And this episode is an updated version of episode 25, Finding Work You Love, figuring out what career is best for you and what you'll be good at, too. So this is an updated version because I've obviously have gained a lot of information and just insight as I've the last time I've recorded this originally, which is close to 7 months ago. And, at the time, I put together kind of a synopsis of what I wanted to share with you. And I've consolidated that and have generated 10 questions that you can ask yourself in order to figure this question out. Because what it means to know what work is going to be best for you and a career path that's going to light you up and want to get you out of bed in the morning, it takes self-awareness and it takes a certain amount of need in knowing yourself. And when you know what you like to do, what you're good at, your strengths, your weaknesses, it makes an easier path to carve out when it comes to career. You know what kind of jobs to go for, you know what to stay away from because you've done some of the detective work, right? You've done some of the discovery in knowing yourself beforehand. So this episode, I'm excited to share with you. If you've listened to the previous recording, this one is going to be even better than what you've heard before. So let's jump into this here. So the 10 questions that I want you to look into are going to be self-reflective. So whether you want to take some notes here now and write down some keywords to come back to later, or if you want to stop and pause the episode as you go and journal and write down some ideas that come to mind, that works too. So this first question is, when do you feel most in the zone? When do you feel the most focused? And what are you doing when you're feeling most in the zone? Whether it be at home, maybe you're volunteering, at work, if it's a certain task that you really it's easy for you to really focus in, get in the zone, and do the work that's associated with that task. And I'm just going to fly through these questions. So I definitely recommend listening to this again, or like I said, stopping and pausing and doing some of these, asking yourselves these questions and just see, just with no judgment, write it down and see what comes through. Question 2 is, which tasks seem to make time fly? So for me, when I'm most in the zone at work, it's usually in the morning. So that's kind of the first piece of it. It's like, oh, what time of day is it? That always helps for productivity and understanding when you want to do some of the hard stuff, part of your job, because you want to do it at a time where your brain and your energy and your focus is going to be the most optimized. And so for me, it's in the mornings. What am I doing then? I'm usually sourcing and looking through resumes. And I really kind of nerd out over that because it's one of those things where it makes time fly. I'm in the zone, it makes time fly. So 1 and 2, these two questions may go in hand. And when you're in the zone and figuring out what you're doing when you're in the zone, it could be, it also helps time fly, but it may not be the case. So just explore that further. What tasks make time fly? And before you know it, it's been an hour. All right. Number 3. What do you look most forward to? What are you most excited about when it comes to your day-to-day job? Is it leading a meeting? Is it leading a workshop? For me, it's definitely that. I love leading workshops. I recently led one on how to give feedback to different personality types. And I just had a ball because it was fun, it was interactive. I felt like I had a chance to practice my public speaking skills. Even though it was with my team, it's still a chance to kind of put myself out there and practice that. I love doing that kind of thing. So what is that for you? What do you look most forward to every week? And like I said, don't judge yourself for what comes through. Just write it down and see, is there a correlation? Is there a pattern you start to notice when you go through these 10 questions for yourself? Okay? And number 3 also, what do you look most forward to every week can also be, what do you want to jump into first? When you get to work, what's the first thing that you want to do? well, you probably want to get coffee. But after that, once you settle in, which task are you ready to dive into first? And usually you'll probably find it's the easier task, like jumping into email and responding to those. But put email aside and pick which task outside of email you're most excited to do. And that would also help you answer number 3 for yourself. Okay, number 4, what tasks do you do that other people may dread, but you, on the other hand, you love doing it? So are there tasks, are there certain projects, are there certain things that you figure out within your role or even outside of your role in your company or even outside of work? What are some things that you have found a little bit unique in terms of you're the only person that you know that loves tackling that sort of thing? Like, is it organizing your house? I personally love doing that, but I do have to be in a mood for it. It's not the first thing I want to do when I wake up. But, do you love organizing? At work, do you love putting together the PowerPoint? Do you love taking notes at the meeting? What are those tasks that you love to do that others, not so much? All right. So then next up, we've got number 5. So number 5 is, what types of projects are you assigned to most? So are there certain projects, are there certain tasks at work that you're assigned that people think of you right off the bat? People go, okay, Jess, what are we going to write in this birthday card? It's silly. It's kind of a silly example, but it's an example that happened last Friday. They pinged me on Google Chat and they said, hey Jess, what should we write in our boss's 1-year anniversary card with the company? And I was like, oh, well, what do you have so far? And I love writing. I love being creative and putting a little extra pizzazz into the write-up and making it kind of funny and throwing in an inside joke. So what are the types of tasks, projects that you're assigned to most to lead? And you may not have a particular, one in particular. Just list out all of the projects that you either want to lead, right? You volunteer for, but then you find people assigning and asking you to lead as well. And this kind of goes into number 6, which is, what do people come to you for advice? Do they come to you for particular help on a certain aspect of the business? Like, for instance, for me, we're always putting together custom search strings to find certain skills within resumes online. So people they know that I love to create Boolean searches, where it's basically a really long list of different keywords, functions, whatever, that search engines recognize, and then they can go out, search all of the resumes in the black hole abyss of the applicant tracking system, and then pull out those people that match within that Boolean string. And I love it. So that is something that I'm asked to help with all the time. So what do people come to you and ask you advice for most frequently? All right, number 7. So everything kind of relates, but we're really targeting with each of these questions individual situations so that you can start to holistically look at, okay, is there a common theme with what I'm asked to do at work, what projects I'm assigned to, but then also moving into, what are friends and family asking you to do or help with? And so this leads me to number 7, which is, ask your friends, ask your family, hey, what am I good at? What are my strengths? What do you see me really thriving in? What do you look up to me for? They're friends and family for a reason. They love you. So why not ask them what their perspective is on your strengths when it comes to your job? Because they'll tell you truthfully and they know you best. So that's a great question. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is, what activities kept you most busy or interested when you were a kid? And I know what you're thinking, oh, a kid, I'm not a kid anymore, this is silly, whatever. But, the things that we were interested in as kids often is ingrained in us still, whether we do it or not. Like, for instance, I played the flute. And I did private flute lessons. Then I also did Suzuki Flute School, which is kind of like a private after school thing, which, I look back and I'm like, gosh, I'm so thankful that my parents had were able to put me in something that I was interested in that, it takes a bit of an investment. I looked into picking up flute again and doing some private lessons, but I found out that flute lessons are like $65 an hour. So I thought, okay, maybe later, but playing the flute was something that interested me, helped time go by. I was good at it, and it was something I look forward to every week, right? Did you run a lemonade stand? Did you like counting all of the change and putting together a plan on how you were going to go out to your neighbors and ask for, the sale, essentially, with the lemonade stand? Or maybe it was helping your mom and dad with the garage sale every year, right? Did you play with dolls? I played with dolls and Barbies and that kind of thing. But did you find yourself pretending you were a nurse with your friends? Or did you have a lot of situations where you played with dolls and you were like a mom? And so it's not like, oh, okay, my job's going to be a mom, which it absolutely is 110% a full-time job times two. But, were you doing a lot of nurturing activities? What kept you busy? Was it drawing? Was it blocks? Was it building things? These are things that you can ask yourself. These are things that you were expressing and developing at an early age before you even were thinking about work as before you were even thinking about work as, paying your bills and keeping a roof over your head, right? So there's something kind of special about looking at what activities you were interested in as a kid. And you may have forgotten about some of the ones that you used to do a lot. And this may help kind of jog your memory and think outside the box and get creative with exploring new career paths and just figuring out, okay, what kind of work do I want to do, right? And all of these questions, these are exploration questions so that you can start to get to know yourself more, so you can start to become aware of what things and what things you aren't good at and what is going to keep you interested. And it's not going to be a direct apples to apples, right? Like, oh, you played with dolls. Okay, you're going to be, you could be a nurse or like a daycare person, run your own business that way, but it's not always going to be that straightforward. But these are all to kind of open your mind a little bit and just help you figure out your career path and look at it from a different point of view other than, gosh, which job on this job board is interesting to me? Because if you do it that way, you'll probably get discouraged and won't have much success, because it starts with getting to know yourself before you can go out and understand what you're looking for. Okay, moving on. Number 9. This relates to being a kid, or possibly even now. I'm a lifelong learner myself, and you may be in school still. But this question, number 9, what was your favorite subject in school? I can tell you right now, mine was not math. Math was my least favorite, including geometry was the worst. I was really just not into that. But what was your favorite subject in school? Or what club were you part of? Were you in speech debate? Were you in conflict mediation? I was in conflict mediation, which was interesting. It's like a club to help mediate conflicts among your peers and classmates. And, it's neat looking back on that. It's at the time, I didn't think anything of it, right? I'm like, oh, this is interesting to me. I'm doing it. And now I'm a career coach. And I'm literally working with people one-on-one, and a lot of things that come up are conflict mediation at their current role or just in life, right? There's, a lot of the times I coach people, and initially, I guess, come to me for career coaching, but once we start working together, we really dive into career touches all aspects of our lives, right? Relationships, self-love, if every aspect in our life isn't getting enough attention or care, then, it's affected. So the 5 main aspects that really come up a lot are healthy mind, self-love, body acceptance, right? Self-image, career is obviously one of them, and then relationships. So those 5 areas, if they're not balanced and not getting enough care and attention, then it may throw off the other sections and aspects. So that's my tangent for this episode. And then lastly, number 10, the question that you want to kind of reflect on is, what kinds of books are you most drawn to? What are you most interested in learning more about? What interests you? What podcasts maybe, or radio shows, or TV shows, or documentaries, right? Or which, even on Netflix, which which category do you go to first? All of these are just giving you tools and extra insight to yourself, which we don't always slow down and pause to take note of and explore. So that's it. Those are the 10 questions in how to find work you love, figuring out what you want to do and why. And so I hope this was helpful and beneficial. I'm going to put these questions into a PDF and put them on the website at that was my old website, jessnessrequired.com, under the shop page for a free download. So you can download that as a free PDF. That way, if you're listening to this in the car, which I'm always driving and listening to podcasts, I don't want you to have to worry about taking notes and all that. I probably should have mentioned that in the beginning, but I'll put it on my website, just under the shop page, and I'll also link down below into the show notes so you can have access to that. And, my goal, my sole mission in life is to help people really live the best life that they're here to live. And part of that is just being good to themselves and figuring out what activities and careers and all that sort of stuff is going to fill them up and inspire them. Because I think that goes hand in hand. So if this podcast episode was helpful for you, or you found any value, I'd love for you to review the podcast on iTunes. It helps more people find the show, and then in turn, I can continue with my soul mission and help more people. So thank you so much. I look forward to another episode later on. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at hellojessness@gmail.com. And until next time, take care.
Sure.